Welcome back to Team Guides. Part 1 went up yesterday, so make sure you watch that before continuing with the video. Let's get right into it. The Cyan Coyotes. Cyan have the lowest gap between the teammate with the highest Season 2 average and the teammate with the lowest, with the gap between Seapeekay and Wilbur being only 509 coins. To put this into perspective, the average gap between the highest and lowest average players on a team in MCC22 is 1065 coins. In Season 2, we've seen many high-pacing teams which contain 4 players of similar skill level, including the MCC14 Aqua Axolotls, MCC18 Cyan Centipedes and MCC20 Green Geckos. Cyan will certainly be aiming to replicate this pattern, and the first thing that will help them get to Dodgeball is their best game, Ace Race. Ace Race is Seapeekay's best game, having placed in the top 5 in MCC 15, 16 and 20, as well as never dropping out of the top 17 this season. In addition, it's Wilbur's third best game. He's regularly placed in the top half, even getting as high as 7th in MCC 16. Though it isn't quite as strong of a game for Ranboo and Wisp, they still have very solid average placements, leading to an average score for Cyan of 1184 coins, the highest in the event, and more than 33% above the event average. If Ace Race is played game 6 or later, as it often is, Cyan's chances of making Dodgeball almost double. Similarly, another game that Cyan want to get played is Battlebox, being the strongest team in the event for it. Every player but Wilbur scores above their personal average, and it's Wisp's best game. In both MCC 14, MCC Pride and MCC 15, Wisp placed in the top 5 individually, and people have often commented on his strong game sense of when to go for the wall, as well as generally judging the situation. For Cyan, it's absolutely crucial that they play Battlebox as late as possible. However, one game that they won't want late is survival games, as every single player scores below their personal averages, making Cyan the weakest SG team in the whole event. Though Ranboo in particular has struggled with it, it's a bottom 4 game for every single player, with SG finales being a relatively common occurrence in Season 2. This is certainly a scenario that they want to avoid at all costs. Cyan's distribution certainly skews towards the top half, with their most common placement being 3rd. However, the chances of Dodgeball are very dependent on when the best games Battlebox, Hole in the Wall and Ace Race gets played. If a game like Battlebox is skipped and they get a survival games finale, their statistical chance of making the Dodgeball can drop to as low as 0%. However, this team is certainly one to watch, as the right game order could send them straight into the finals, just like how you can send our videos straight into your notifications. Subscribing allows us to make more awesome content and helps you never miss our videos. Anyway, onto the Aqua Axolotls. A good way to do well in the event is to avoid movement games, with the exception of Rocket Spleef Rush at all costs. The worst 3 games end up being Ace Race to get to the other side and Hole in the Wall in that order, with their Ace Race score of 628 being the lowest score in any game this event. The other movement game, Parkour Tag, isn't too much better, sitting just above the other 3 with Battlebox in between. However, Rocket Spleef Rush isn't anywhere near the other movement games, actually being one of their best due to the Hermit's adeptness with the Elytra. In fact, Aqua are the 3rd strongest team in the event at Rocket Spleef Rush, behind only Orange and Lime. False is the only player on the team who scores below her personal average, though this is likely due to how she only played it once. In Season 1, Rocket Spleef was False's strongest game, and so it wouldn't be surprising to see her perform significantly better than she did in MCC 20. Looking at some of Aqua's other strong games, Sands of Time and Build Mart are both up there as their strong games. In Sands of Time, every single player scores above their personal average, though H-Bomb is certainly the strongest explorer on the team. Grian and False have both had very strong events previously in Sands of Time. Scar has struggled slightly with the game, but if anyone can help him become a stronger explorer or even a stronger Sandkeeper, it is H-Bomb. But of course, with Grian on the team, Aqua is an absolute Build Mart powerhouse, being the strongest team in the whole event. Every single player except H-Bomb performs above their average, with H-Bomb only being just below his. Unsurprisingly, Build Mart is Grian's strongest game, with multiple first places under his belts thanks to his manager strat. False and H also both recently proved they're still strong Build Mart players, placing 1st and 3rd respectively in MCC 20. With this much pure Build Mart power, a late Build Mart could definitely be the thing which sends Aqua into Dodgeball. However, the stats disagree slightly with this, with our simulation predicting the highest placement they can obtain being only 4th. Of course, this is only based on statistics, and this can certainly change on the day. Our simulations have been wrong in the past, not predicting that MCC 19 Cerulean would make Dodgeball, and only giving the MCC 21 Boobats a 0.3% chance to make it to Dodgeball. If Aqua gets something close to their ideal game order, skipping most moving games while getting a late Rocket Spleef Rush and Build Mart, they could certainly surprise us all. The Blue Bats. Blue have a pretty mixed bag of strength between all of their players, and they're able to cover each other person's bases pretty well. TapL's best games tend to be movement based, while Tubbo is more PvP heavy with Rocket Spleef Rush thrown in. And yet another player on their team, Eric, specialises more in team games. Sniff, on the other hand, has no real consensus due to their low sample size. Adding on to the aforementioned mixed strengths, Blue are also one of the most consistent teams in the event, having the lowest standard deviation. Pretty much all of the 11 games will be solid for them, with the only notable exceptions being their high scores in Sands of Time and low ones in Hole in in the wall. Fortunately for them, Sands of Time has always been played usually as game 7 or 8. Eric for one does absolutely insane in Sands of Time. It's his best game by almost 150 coins. While MCC20 was rough, with his team getting 7th, MCC17 and 19 were amazing, and his team got 2nd both times. TapL's performances have also been good in Season 2, on average scoring around 3rd to 5th. Sands of Time is also TapL's best team game by a long shot. Moving on to Tubbo, he performed more all over the place, but he's had some good showings in MCC19 and 20. Finally, while Sniff did get last during MCC21, the margin was quite slim, and that definitely wasn't showing Sniff's full potential, so we might very well see Sniff pop off this event. All 4 of these players have shown skill at being able to communicate and do well in Sands of Time in the past, with Everett especially showing exceptional strength in Sands of Time, all of which could make for an impressive showing on the day of the event. Looking at the distributions for this team, they range around from 2nd to 10th, with their most likely placement being 7th. However, there is still a good chance that this team can make it to Dodgeball, even if it's only 14 game orders. So with good showings from them, and obviously some luck in getting a good game order, Blue just might be able to make it into the finale yet. Look up from Pandas. In terms of games, no team comes close to Purple's insane team game score. This team has the best Sands of Time average, the best Grid Runners average, and is only 17 coins away from the best Build Mart average. This is mostly thanks to the combination of Gem, Cub, and Shubble. Meanwhile, Punz uses some insane scores to shore up this team's weaknesses in PvP and movement games. Notably, Punz's incredible ace race and survival games averages keep these games as solid when they would be normally games to avoid for this team. Overall, this team has no clear weaknesses to exploit and are incredibly well rounded. Games that do not seem to go poorly for this team are PvP and movement games that Punz is only good at instead of great. Notably, Battle Box, Hole in the Wall, and Sky Battle are games where this team is much less dominant. These games really play to this team's weaknesses and should be avoided if they can. The player to watch on this team is going to be Cubfan. Cubfan has some of the best Season 2 averages in the event for team games, and is a constant calming presence and great support player. However, every once in a while Cubfan will have a fantastic event, exploding into the top 20. In fact, every time Cubfan has scored more than 2,000 coins, his team has made it into Dodgeball. Cub isn't the most consistent player in the event, but when he is playing well, he easily becomes the missing piece that can get this team to the final game. Looking at distributions, Purple can place almost anywhere. Their average placement hovers around 5th or 6th, with about a 3% chance to make Dodgeball. Still, this team should definitely not be counted out. If we see a late Sands of Time or Grid Runners, don't be surprised if Purple is one of the teams fighting it out in Dodgeball. Pink Parrots. Pink has quite a few strong games. They're the best team in Sky Battle, with Ollie having very strong past performances in early Season 2, despite an unfortunate MCC20. And although historically it's been one of Captain's worst games, he's proved in MCC20 that when he plays aggressively, he can get a lot of kills. This team's real strength at the game lies with Purple and Tommy, however. Both of them got top 3 last MCC, with Tommy getting first individual despite his teammates dying early each round. Purple showed he works best with the leader to make callouts last MCC, and Tommy can definitely fulfill the role in Sky Battle. They're also very strong in to get to the other side, and it's not just because of Purple's standout performance, although that is likely a large factor. They have multiple strong players who can grab those incredible top 10 individual bonuses, but they also don't really have a weak player at it, which can definitely help with team bonuses. These factors combined make them extremely scary in this game. Something interesting about this team is their similarity to the Lime Llamas. Their worst and best games are alike, with survival games and Grid Runners not being particularly wanted by either of them, and they share their great skills in games like Hole in the Wall, Ace Race, and Sky Battle. Even the games they do average at are extremely close in score. As a result, it's likely that Pink and Lime will be fighting each other the whole tournament, although there are some key differences that will make them stand out from one another. First, Pink is much weaker at Rocket's Leaf Rush and Build Mart, making them absolutely essential for getting them out of the way early, or if possible, skipping entirely. But secondly, Pink is slightly stronger in to get to the other side, Battle Box, and Sands of Time. This makes their game order really dependent on how Lime does to try and beat them out to get the top spots. And what's most interesting, even though Pink are rather average at Sands of Time, our simulation wants them to play it last so they can get ahead of the Lime Llamas. This will be a very interesting competition to watch during the event. A quick look at distributions shows Pink gets into Dodgeball around 10% of the time. If they make sure that Build Mark or Rocket's Leaf are played earlier than Game 4 or skipped entirely, we see a bit of a different story. Now they get in about 30% of the time and get in the top 4 80% of the time. This team's path to Dodgeball is very dependent on balancing players' games that are generally just great late, such as Sky Battle, as well as trying to make sure that Lime can't overtake them. And if this all works, Pink should have a great chance to get to Dodgeball.